We know the pathway. So the initial raw materials are, what are the initial raw materials? Glycine and succinylcholine. So that is only starting enzyme is delta amino levulinic acid synthase. That synthase is type 2 synthase. Okay, so this reaction and last three reaction occurs in mitochondria. Last three enzymes. So ALA synthase 2 is what is important. Okay, so we have ALA synthase 1 also. So where does 1 act in and where does 2 act in? Do you people know that? Where is 2 and where is 1 enzyme which is present? You can just unmute and you can tell also.
1 in the liver, 2 in erythropoietic precursors.
Okay, so 2 occurs in marrow, that is erythropoietic precursors. So 1 occurs in your liver. So 1 is your homogeneously expressed. So always the enzyme will be expressed. So that 1 is occurs in liver, and there is no disease of ALA synthase 1. If you get any option as ALA synthase 1, you should never mark. So ALA synthase 1 is always a home keeping gene and it is always expressed. So whatever disease occurs is mainly because of ALA synthase 2. So what disease occurs? There are two diseases that can occur. One is X-linked sideroblastic anemia. If deficiency occurs, it is X-linked sideroblastic anemia. Okay, and if there is gain of function mutation, that is there is overactivity of this enzyme, then what you get is X-linked protoporphyria. X-linked protoporphyria. Where other protoporphyria occurs in this pathway? Here in the downward. That is ferrochelatase deficiency. So ferrochelatase deficiency causes erythropoietic protoporphyria. So here also it causes X-linked protoporphyria. So it is an X-linked. Why X-linked? Because the gene for ALA synthase 2 is present on X chromosome. If there is deficiency only, then there is X-linked sideroblastic anemia. Whereas overactivity, what happens if there is overactivity of this enzyme? This pathway will be overstimulated. So all these metabolites will accumulate, and then finally this protoporphyrin will get accumulated. So baby will have similar symptoms like erythropoietic protoporphyria, but will be deficiency or overactivity of the enzyme will be ALA synthase 2. There will be not deficient, it will be overactivity. So ALA synthase 2 is the rate limiting step, and also it is pyridoxine dependent enzyme. So pyridoxine, that is vitamin B6, is what the cofactor for. So the treatment of X-linked sideroblastic anemia is your pyridoxine. So what you should know is, if there is any child who presents with anemia and peripheral smear shows ringed sideroblast, then also if there is hepatosplenomegaly, pallor, hepatosplenomegaly, and peripheral smear shows anemia with ringed sideroblast, so you have to go for X-linked sideroblastic anemia in a male child. So treatment of that child is pyridoxine. Okay. So the second part is D-ALA. Two D-ALA enzymes particles will mix and they form porphobilinogen. So the enzyme is ALA dehydratase. So ALA dehydratase is where the porphyria actually starts from. So this is ALA dehydratase porphyria. Apart from that is porphobilinogen. After porphobilinogen, you get is porphobilinogen deaminase. So this causes acute intermittent porphyria. So from here only the actual porphyrias what you see is seen. So after porphobilinogen deaminase, uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase or uroporphyrinogen 3 co-synthase also. You can call it as uroporphyrinogen 3 co-synthase. Both are same. So this causes congenital erythropoietic porphyria. This congenital erythropoietic porphyria is what that can be seen even in intrauterine period, and also it can present as non-immune hydrops as told by Subramania in last class. So this will accumulate as uroporphyrinogen, if uroporphyrinogen to coproporphyrinogen, UCP, what he told, UCP. So if there is any blockage downward, so this will get converted to uroporphyrin 1 and uroporphyrin 3. Okay. Next comes the uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase. So decarboxylase, it causes porphyria cutanea tarda, and this is the most common porphyria. This is the most common porphyria in the adult period. Which is the most common porphyria in the pediatric age group is erythropoietic protoporphyria. This is the most common porphyria what you see in pediatric age group. Okay, so it is first synthase, decarboxylase, then 2 oxidases, then chelatase. Okay, so UCP, uroporphyrinogen, then coproporphyrinogen, then protoporphyrinogen 9, protoporphyrin 9, and then your ferrochelatase. So it is once you remember this pathway, nobody will ask you to write this pathway or anything. What you have to more concentrate is you have to look into the diseases. So there are a few questions that can be asked. One is the biochemical aspect, which enzyme is deficient, what is the inheritance, and how do you identify that which raw materials can be accumulated. Okay, so these are the things that can be asked. So most probably what the questions they may ask is, one is acute intermittent porphyria. So acute intermittent porphyria, there are 5 P's of acute intermittent porphyria, which you should remember. One is P is for enzyme, that is porphobilinogen deaminase deficiency. Second P is pain abdomen. Most common presentation is pain abdomen. You can get a patient who has presented with surgical OPD and they have taken up for laparotomy. There is negative laparotomy. Such questions can come. Apart from that is neuropsychiatric symptoms like depression, or any other psychotic symptoms. It can be both ways, depression or psychotic symptoms. They may have peripheral neuropathy in the form of numbness or paresthesia. Then P abnormality or pink colored urine. That is, pink color urine can be seen. And then precipitation by drugs. And also it is post-pubertal. The most common age group is post-pubertal, usually in their 20s or 30s. What are the drugs that can precipitate porphyria is most commonly what they give is oral contraceptives or any enzyme inducers. If you take any enzyme inducers, this pathway will be activated and they may have this accumulation of metabolite and they may present with porphyria. So porphobilinogen deaminase. This will be most commonly asked question. Apart from that is any porphyria cutanea tarda can be seen. Congenital erythropoietic porphyria can be asked. It may present in neonatal age group also. It can present with anemia. It can present with any non-immune hydrops. It is one of the rare cause of non-immune hydrops. So let's solve some question. So heme is a tetrapyrrole structure which consists of 2+ ions in the center of porphyrin ring. Which of the following protein consists of heme? So what are the heme containing proteins? Whether it is myoglobin, hemoglobin, cytochrome, all of the above. What can be the answer? What should be the answer? What can be the answer? You can just unmute and tell the answer also if you are in a place to tell. So all these proteins are heme containing proteins. So heme is synthesized everywhere. Cytochrome oxidase is present in all parts of the body. In muscle, heme is present in myoglobin. In RBCs, heme is present within hemoglobin. And in all other places, heme is present within the cytochrome enzymes that is present in mitochondria. So heme is present in every single part of your body. Heme containing proteins are present. Okay. So beside erythroid precursor cells, which is the other site for synthesis of heme? So as told by Yashaswini, which is the other place which is synthesis of heme? Is liver. Okay. You can just unmute and tell the answer also. There's no problem. So which of the following is not a precursor for synthesis of heme? So glycine is required, succinyl-CoA is required. So both of the above is also required. So answer is none of the above, not a precursor. So which is the rate limiting enzyme for synthesis of heme? So rate limiting enzyme is not DLA synthase. 2 is not the answer, 1 is the answer. Okay. So delta aminolevuronic acid synthase 1 is the rate limiting enzyme. 2 is present only in erythroid precursors. So we cannot call that as a rate limiting enzyme. That is one of the enzymes that is defective and causes porphyria. Okay. Or X-linked sideroblastic anemia. So what is present in liver is DL synthase 1 and this is the rate limiting enzyme. So you should not confuse with between 1 and 2. So this thing can be asked if both 1 and 2 are present as option, only 1 should be present. There is no deficiency, there is no disease per se which is related to synthesis of 1. Okay, this rate limiting enzyme is they can have a promoter, they can have an inhibitor. For example, if there is more heme produced, the heme itself will come back and inhibit your delta aminolevuronic acid synthase 1. So that's how this pathway is inhibited. If the heme, intracellular heme is less or if there is anemia, this pathway is stimulated and that's why there will be more stimulation of this pathway. So that's how DAL synthase 1 acts as a rate limiting enzyme. The synthesis of heme involves both cytoplasmic and mitochondrial cellular components. Which of the following enzyme occurs in cytoplasm? So we all know that last 3 enzymes and first 1 enzyme occurs in mitochondria. So which occurs in cytoplasm? Last enzyme we know. Okay, that is ferrochelatase, definitely mitochondria. Apart from that is DAL synthase, we know that is your mitochondria. First enzyme and last enzyme we know. We have to decide between these two. So your porphyrin synthase 3 obviously comes in center of the cycle. So definitely this occurs in cytoplasm. Okay. So oxidase, protoporphyrinogen. There are two oxidases, coproporphyrinogen and protoporphyrinogen. So be very careful with these two oxidases. So okay, UCP we remember. P comes last. So go with the P. P occurs. So both of these occurs in mitochondria. So there's no confusion between two oxidases. Okay. So only thing they may give is anything like synthase or decarboxylase they may give. There should be no confusion between two oxidases. If both oxidases they give, you might think that one oxidase can be mitochondria, one oxidase can be cytoplasm. No, both oxidases and last ferrochelatase and ALA synthase enzyme. All these things occur in mitochondria. Okay, is it clear till now? So you won't confuse with mitochondrial enzyme or cytoplasmic enzyme. Okay. So lead poisoning. So without even seeing the answer, you should be able to tell. So lead acts on which enzyme? So lead poisoning causes increased accumulation and urinary excretion of copper, porphyrin 3 and ALA in urine. Which of the following enzymes are inhibited? So there are two enzymes that can be inhibited by lead. So which are the enzymes? Anybody unmute and tell me which enzymes among this is inhibited by lead? One is definitely ferrochelatase. The other thing is
Dehydratase. ALA dehydratase.
okay. So ferrochelatase and ALA. So only two options you can eliminate. Once you know ferrochelatase, only two options you can eliminate. So apart from that, you have to know the other option also, ALA synthase or dehydratase. Then only you can get this question. So ALA dehydratase is what you have to get it right. Okay. So the heme, hematin, cytochrome P50 represses the synthesis of following enzyme, thereby reducing heme synthesis. So they are asking your rate limiting enzyme. So which is the rate limiting enzyme? Delta ALA synthase 1. Okay. So which of the following intermediate of heme synthetic pathway is water insoluble and excreted via feces via biliary tract? Okay, so what can be the answer for this? Which is excreted by feces via biliary tract, which is water soluble and which is water insoluble? Can Subramanya help with this? Can you? Subramanya, are you there? So the bilinogens, what you get are water soluble. Previously, all things are water soluble. Only the later part, like porphyrins, they are water insoluble and have to be checked. Porphyrins have to be checked in feces. Okay, the previous earlier porphyrinogens and porphobilinogens and delta ALA, these are all water soluble. Only the last product, the terminal porphyrins, are water insoluble and they have to be examined in feces. Okay, so this is the eighth answer, that is protoporphyrin. Okay. So this you have to read again, which is water soluble and why is it? Okay. So porphyrias are a group of metabolic disorders that result from partial deficiency of enzyme heme biosynthetic pathway. The porphyria may be classified as acute and non-acute. Which of the following porphyria is not acute type? So what can be the present? What can be the answer? Acute intermittent porphyria, as you all know, it is acute presentation. So which is not an acute presentation? So answer is the most common porphyria, that is Porphyria cutanea tarda. Okay. Porphyria cutanea tarda usually presents in third decade or fourth decade, and it presents as an ongoing skin condition. Blisters and photosensitivity can be present. And Porphyria cutanea tarda, you also know that you should know that the incidence is sporadic. Sporadic incidence, it can occur to anyone without any family history. It can occur to anyone. Okay, so identify porphyria that does not have accumulation and increased excretion of delta aminolevulinic acid and porphobilinogen among the following. So the starting components are not accumulated. So which porphyria? Which porphyria does not have accumulation and increased excretion of delta amino levulinic acid and porphobilinogen among the following? Whether it is acute intermittent porphyria, whether it is hereditary porphyria, whether it is congenital erythropoietic porphyria or variegate porphyria. So which is the thing? So porphobilinogen definitely gets accumulated in acute intermittent porphyria. So I think the answer should be around the congenital erythropoietic porphyria, wherein it gets converted to uroporphyrinogen 1 and 3 co-synthesis. Uroporphyrinogen 1 and uroporphyrinogen 3. So that's why it does not accumulate in liver. Okay. So answer is congenital erythropoietic porphyria. PCT, the most common porphyria characterized by photosensitivity skin lesion. Which of the following statement is false regarding PCT? PCT, you have to know decarboxylase. So porphyric ketonate deficiency of uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase. So that is right answer. We have to write the false. We have to identify the false. Accumulation of photosensitizers such as uroporphyrinogen and carboxyl substitute porphyrinogen. Accumulation of ALA and porphobilinogen. This is right. And both, if more than one things are right, then option should be like none of the above, I think. So 11th, I'll just check. So there is accumulation of ALA and porphobilinogen. So next question is, which of the following is most sensitive method for measurement of porphobilinogen? Whether it is ion exchange chromatography, spectral photometry for porphobilinogen, calorimetric Ehrlich reaction method. This you have to by heart. It is HPLC method. Okay, that is most specific. 12th one, which is HPLC coupled mass spectroscopy. So that is more specific than any other method. Okay. So all of the following are inherited as an autosomal dominant fashion, except the following two autosomal recessive conditions. So which one? Which is inherited as an autosomal recessive? So it is two things: ALA dehydratase deficiency and congenital erythropoietic porphyria. So congenital erythropoietic porphyria and ALA dehydratase are autosomal recessive inheritance. Okay. Enzyme deficient in erythropoietic protoporphyria. So erythropoietic protoporphyria is the last enzyme, that is ferrochelatase. Okay. So don't confuse between X-linked protoporphyria and erythropoietic protoporphyria. X-linked protoporphyria is overactivity of ALA synthase, and erythropoietic protoporphyria is ferrochelatase deficiency. Okay. So erythropoietic protoporphyria is ferrochelatase deficiency, whereas overactivity of this enzyme ALA synthase 2 will cause X-linked protoporphyria. Deficiency of this enzyme will result in X-linked sideroblastic anemia. Okay. So the last is intravenous administration of heme is required for reducing the symptoms during acute porphyria attacks. The heme decrease the gene synthesis of the following enzyme. So which is the rate limiting enzyme they are asking again. So the rate limiting enzyme is delta ALA synthase 1. So any doubts you have till now? Anything you want to ask? So this is one of the again question we can get in exam. So 18-year-old girl. So it is a post-pubertal girl. She complains of abdominal pain with menses that seem out of proportion to her menstrual pain of her peers. So she has intermittent constipation and diarrhea. During recent episode of pain, she was also noted to have hypertension, tachycardia, and urinary retention also. So her urine noted to have port vein discoloration. And when urinary catheter was placed to relieve her acute urinary retention, so what is the most likely diagnosis? Whether it is congenital erythropoietic porphyria? No, it will come on during the infancy or in the neonatal age. Porphyria ketonata only in third decade or fourth decade. Mucopolysaccharidosis, no, this is not the presentation. SLE, it can be present, but she will have photosensitivity. So this, she doesn't have photosensitivity here. Purely abdominal symptoms or neurovisceral symptoms. Post-pubertal girl having neurovisceral symptoms and abdominal pain out of proportion, and which severe pain resulting in ileus or urinary retention and decreased bowel sounds. So all these are, there may be autonomic symptoms because like tachycardia and hypertension, which can be present because during an acute attack. So this is a classical case of acute intermittent porphyria. Okay, they may have sometimes undergo a laparotomy also, thinking some appendicitis or some ovarian cyst, ovarian torsion. So these things can be present and they may have negative laparotomy also. So post-pubertal, I told you 5, not just 5 P's, can be 6 P's. One is porphobilinogen deaminase, pain in the abdomen, psychological symptoms, peripheral neuropathy. P abnormality is urine turning dark urine or your port wine color, and it is precipitated by drugs and post-pubertal. Drugs are OCPs. Okay, we'll have next question similarly. So acute intermittent porphyria can be exaggerated by all except one is puberty, and surgical stress can occur, and pregnancy can this thing, and premenstrual period can exacerbate. So which of the following is an answer? So can you tell which is the answer? Which can exacerbate your acute intermittent porphyria? This is one of the very good questions that can come. So pregnancy is an answer. A pregnancy usually is well tolerated by porphyria patients. So rest all the things are precipitating factors. Surgical stress can precipitate. Okay, so pubertal period can precipitate, and pregnancy is well tolerated. Postmenstrual period and decreased carbohydrate intake. So all these things are precipitating factors for acute intermittent porphyria. So all of the following drugs are unsafe in acute intermittent porphyria except. So basically, they are asking which is a enzyme inducer and which does not precipitate porphyria. So whether it is valproic acid, carbamazepine, cimetidine, diclofenac, and nifedipine. So you have to know the list of drugs which are safe in porphyria. I will share the table later on. So the answer is C, that is cimetidine. So cimetidine is an enzyme inhibitor. So cimetidine can be given safely. Okay. So all of the following are clinical features of acute intermittent porphyria except. So neuropathy, as we know, 5 Ps or 6 Ps you can tell. So neurovisceral symptoms, they don't have cutaneous manifestation. You should know they don't have cutaneous manifestation. That is, they may have neuropathy, they may have tachycardia because of autonomic symptoms or catecholamines are released. The abdominal pain will be there, bladder dysfunction because of autonomic symptoms. Cutaneous photosensitivity is not a part of acute intermittent porphyria. Okay. So which is the least common presentation of acute intermittent porphyria? Sensory loss, mental symptoms, muscle weakness, abdominal tenderness, and pain in the extremities. So answer is, so it is D. The most common manifestations are, so it is abdominal tenderness is the most common manifestation. 59. 59. So the most common manifestations include mental symptoms, pain in the extremities, head, neck, chest, and because all these manifestations are neurologic rather than inflated, there is little or no abdominal tenderness. So these are all, pain will be there, there won't be any tenderness will not be there. Okay, you have to be very careful with this. Abdominal pain is different, tenderness is different. Pain and tenderness, you have to be very careful about this. Okay, you may get as pain or tenderness. So tenderness is not an answer. Muscle weakness, maybe because of peripheral neuropathy, you may get muscle weakness. Sensory loss because of peripheral neuropathy, and pain in extremities definitely. And abdominal pain you may get, but not tenderness. The most common electrolyte abnormality in acute intermittent porphyria is, so what is electrolyte abnormality you get? So it is, they may present with SIADH. Okay. So hyponatremia is common during attacks. That is, SIADH can occur and it may lead to hyponatremia. Okay. So inappropriate secretion of ADH is the most common mechanism. But salt depletion from excess renal sodium loss, gastrointestinal loss, or poor intake have been suggested as a cause for hyponatremia. And all of the following are features of congenital erythropoietic porphyria except. So what is congenital erythropoietic porphyria doesn't present is, they may present with neonatal hyperbilirubinemia, and they may present with photosensitivity. Erythrodontia is present, reddish urine present. Peripheral neuropathy is unlikely to be present. Okay. So neuropathic symptoms are very much absent in congenital erythropoietic porphyria. Okay, there is no sensitivity to drugs, hormones, or carbohydrate restriction. It is purely because of accumulation of in the erythroid precursors, marrow symptoms, and all these, especially anemia causing non-immune hydrops or severe anemia will be the presentation. Okay. So next is the most important screening test of acute intermittent porphyria. So what is the screening? Most important screening test is, so it is urinary porphobilinogen. Okay, so you should check. So urinary porphobilinogens are what is specifically checked in acute intermittent porphyria. So whereas in porphyria cutanea tarda, you have to check for porphyrins. Okay, Porphyrins you have to check, and erythropoietic protoporphyria you have to check for erythrocyte porphyrins. Erythrocyte, there will be, once you collect the blood will be fluorescent in erythropoietic protoporphyria. Porphyria cutanea tarda, you will get urinary porphyrins. Okay, and in acute intermittent porphyria it is porphobilinogen and ALA are accumulated. Is it okay with can you now answer almost all the questions with porphyrias? You want me to continue with NRP, or you want me to take tomorrow? I can take tomorrow also the NRP questions. They are very important, and you need a fresh mind to start. If you have any questions on porphyria, do share in the group. So you should attempt as many MCQs from different books and different coaching institutes. You should not Harrison pretest or Nelson pretest or any other books. You solve as many MCQs as possible. Like only this much is asked in porphyria. There is nothing new that has come in porphyria from last few years or some decades also. So you should not be missing any question whether they ask anything. So for example, we did not discuss about anything about hereditary copper porphyria or variegate porphyria. These things we have not discussed. So you may get question about these two things. You may get any other MCQs. If you get a question about hereditary copper porphyria, you can just share in the group. For any question, you may get answer as variegate porphyria. How do they present? So you should have some idea that how does a hereditary copper porphyria present or variegate porphyria present. So that finishes almost your entire thing. And there are some photo questions that can be asked. For example, in porphyria cutanea tarda lesions, you should be able to identify the cutaneous blisters, or even congenital erythropoietic porphyria, the Gunther's disease, the erythrodontia. I will share you the pictures in the group. Okay, so I'll share you about the picture. So this is all about porphyria MCQs. I don't think they can ask anything more than this. So be careful with ALA synthase 1 and 2, and be careful with about mitochondrial enzymes and what are the factors that accumulate. Okay, porphyria cutanea tarda, you see is porphyrins. These porphyrins will get accumulated. If there is deficiency, porphyrinogen will get converted to uroporphyrin 1, uroporphyrin 3. And this is about porphyria. Almost the other thing is erythropoietic protoporphyria, erythrocyte porphyrins. So these are the things that are managed. In acute intermittent porphyria, what you see is porphobilinogen, urinary porphobilinogen. Okay. So don't forget the 5 P's of acute intermittent porphyria, or you can add 6th P also. Post-pubertal female who has been recently started with the oral contraceptive pills and who presented with acute abdomen and negative laparotomy or negative ultrasound manifestation. She may have hyponatremia also and investigationally. And other things are she may have bladder symptoms, hypertension, and what doesn't have is cutaneous photosensitivity. Okay, so you should not make any mistake about what are the questions in porphyria. So don't forget to brush up through the table drugs which are safe in porphyria and drugs which are contraindicated in porphyria. So these are the things. We should make a list of things which you should not should see before the day before exam. Okay, so in that what comes is again drugs which can be given, drugs which can be safe in porphyria. Okay, so I think NRP we can discuss tomorrow only. So I hope it is clear. If anybody gets any question on hereditary copper porphyria and variegate porphyria, I will definitely post it. So if anybody gets any other questions on porphyria, do share so that we don't miss any other questions. So stop reading theory part and start solving MCQs. So I don't think you should be seeing any theory part in next 1 month. You should always solve all the MCQs, as many MCQs from any book like Harrison pretest or your Ganong or your Harper's, whichever MCQ, physiology MCQs you get, as many MCQs from as many sources as possible, so that you make as many wrongs, as many mistakes, as many doubts you can get. Then take out your book or notes, read about it. Don't ever go with the theory in next 90 days. You will see drastic improvement once you start solving MCQs. You will pick up your speed. Okay, at least before the exam, you should solve at least 500 MCQs. That should be your speed with which you should be doing. No matter you get around in that 500, you get repeat MCQs or which you already know 300, 400. That is okay. So that gives you confidence. Just keep on solving MCQs. Whichever you get wrong, immediately take out your book, read it, and then make it perfect. And then again tomorrow you revise it. Just like we revise alcohol withdrawal and the porphyria today. Revision is very, very important. Within the two short revisions, like within 2 days, 3 days, you revise. Then only it will go into your long-term memory. Okay. So tomorrow we will you can add 1 or 2 questions again on porphyria, and NRP again. Tomorrow we can discuss. It is definitely you may get 1 or 2 questions on NRP, or even 1 question also. If you get 1 question also, that is very, very important. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining.